experiences from different places. I'm a physical chemist and a spectroscopist, but in the last 20 years or so, I've shifted into nanotechnology and work with sort of soccer ball molecules these days. Jamie Ferguson is an organic chemist with interests in ionic liquids and green chemistry. Laura Hainsworth in the lower left there is an analytical chemist, and she does a lot of studying of the environment using chemistry to characterize critters and plants and soils and water quality and air quality. And Michael Lane actually graduated from Emory and Henry during my first year at the college. And he's a materials chemist and studies the fabrication of integrated circuits with a goal of sort of understanding how they fail. And so by avoiding fractures and faults and things, you can make an integrated circuit that lasts longer. But one of the things that pulls us all together is we all wanted to be faculty at a school like Emory and Henry because of the opportunity to work with students. What our students do with their chemistry major varies a lot. And they fall into three broad groups. About 1/3 goes to professional school in the health sciences, and by far most of those go to pharmacy school. About 40% end up being employed either in the chemistry industry or in education. We usually have a teacher or two every year or two. And the rest, about 27%, go to graduate school, and most of those go to graduate school in engineering or chemistry. The biology ones are mostly people who were biology, chemistry, double majors. Some other interesting things: we're the oldest chemistry program in Southwest Virginia. For our size, I feel like we have the most chemistry sort of teaching awards probably in the state of Virginia, certainly on a percentage basis. We've won national and regional awards. Another interesting thing is a group of alumni from the college feels that undergraduate research is so important that each year they chip in thousands of dollars to support students doing summer projects. And it's a really neat program that's been going on for more than 25 years. It started right before I came to the college, and really provides an opportunity for students to get out and see chemistry in the real world. And one last thing I'll mention is the Bartlett Crow Field Station, which is a 72-acre field station about 15 miles from the college. And that's where a lot of the environmentally oriented projects happen. It's a neat facility because it's along the south or middle fork of the Holston River, and it has a lot of different ecological sort of areas, from deciduous forests to fields to watershed sort of marshy areas. And so there's a lot of opportunities for measuring things in the environment and characterizing it. The biology department and the environmental studies department also uses it a lot. And so that's really what I have prepared. I think the fun part about science is you get to answer interesting questions. And as the little cartoon shows, I probably am very much in the, I wonder if it does that every time box. Just can't resist trying to learn more about things. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. And if you think of questions later that I don't have time or don't get to answer, be sure to send me an email or send Scott an email, and we'll make sure they get answered for you.
Absolutely. So we're going to open this up for questions. So please feel free. I saw that we've got Cody here. We actually had Hunter come in as well. So please feel free to use the chat box to enter in any questions that you might have. I'll open it up for you guys now.
Okay, so one question that I see says, what are some internships or shadowing opportunities that chemistry students can do? And usually in chemistry, it depends on what your career goal is. For pharmacists, a lot of times they do shadowing, um, and usually they do it with someone who's sort of been nurturing their internship in pharmacy often, although there are a lot of alumni who are involved in pharmacy nearby. So it's possible also to do it locally. Um, in the sciences, there's a lot of summer programs for students. They're usually about 10 weeks long. They're usually paid, and students apply for those. And our students have been real successful in doing and participating in those. And then there's also the Friends of the Sciences, which supports students to do those sort of things in the summer, because sometimes it can be hard to get into some of the summer programs because they're very competitive. We also do projects with students on campus, and those often happen during the year. Sometimes they're for academic credit, sometimes there's paid opportunities. It just kind of depends on the professor and the situation.
I guess one question I would have to ask is, so what are the general acceptance rates in graduate level programs for many of our graduates that leave from our chemistry department?
So if I pop back, I'm still. So if I pop back, let's see. Basically, it pretty much works out for everyone who's put together. I guess we've had one or two students over the years who have taken a year to get some more experience and then reapply. But other than that, everyone's pretty much gotten into one of their main choices. This coming year, we've got two students. One's going to pharmacy at ETSU, and another one's going to a chemistry graduate program at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And I think he's both excited about the chemistry program, and he's also excited about student basketball tickets.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
We have another question here. So let's see. Do you have a minor with chemistry? And building off of that, what are some common minors that chemistry majors tend to have?
So we do have a minor in chemistry. It's 6 courses. The chemistry minor, you take general chemistry 1 and 2, organic chemistry 1, and then after that there's some flexibility depending on your interests. A lot of times, because if you double major, that's usually 8 chemistry courses. A lot of times students doing the minor will, during their junior year, think, well, I could just take a little more and double major, and that happens fairly regularly. Chemistry students, it depends a lot on their interests. The most common minor is probably biology, and that would probably be the health science students that do that the most often, or the students interested in what I think of as tiny biology, micro or molecular sort of cell biology. Math is also fairly common, and physics is common for the students that are more interested in engineering. But you can really minor in anything, and that's one of the neat things about Emory and Henry. Years ago, one of my students was a double major in religion and chemistry, and as she graduated, she decided to go to divinity school. And I sort of sat her down and I said, when you go to divinity school, there's not going to be a lot of science students there, and you're going to have to, sort of go easy on them. And she contacted me later at an alumni event and sort of said, there were a lot of scientists in divinity school, and she was sort of surprised. And she's a pastor at a Methodist church now, and so depends on the student and what your interests are.
So that is a benefit, absolutely.
Let's see. So what sort of thing? Oh, wait, there's more. So what sort of things are you guys interested in, Hunter and Cody? Do you know at this point? Let's see. So lab work, do you know where you'd like to do lab work, or just in general? Just in general. Yeah. So a lot of times for lab work, we've had students go, Eastman Chemical is probably the largest chemistry employer in the immediate region. They're located in Kingsport, Tennessee, which is about a 45-minute drive or so from the college. And they tend to start people out in their analytical sort of services lab, but they're such a big place that they tend to move people around. I think both to give them different experiences and find a good fit, and to keep them from getting bored, because sometimes lab work can be a little repetitive. But our students that have gone there have really liked it. Paleontology is a fascinating sort of field to have a chemistry background in, both from a preservation sort of way and figuring out what's going on. I don't know a lot about it, although I did do a lot of soil work and marine sediment work years ago. That was a lot of fun, and you can learn a lot about what's going on with things you dig out of the ground using chemistry.
I hadn't even considered paleontology. That is interesting.
Yeah. Is there a certain type of paleontology you're interested in? Yeah. One other thing about paleontology is we actually have in our biology department I forget what the exact word is, but basically someone who studies fish fossils. Professor Felix does a lot of work on prehistoric sort of fishes, and has been on digs in the United States and Mexico. And when you go into his office, the first thing you see is this shelf full of fossils and preserved museum samples. Yeah. And one of the other neat courses he teaches is a drawing course, because being able to represent sort of paleontological sort of samples is really important for characterizing them and classifying them. Yeah.
Because that can kind of come in hand too for what potential internships could look like actually coming out of the department as well too.
Hmm. Yeah. He, well, actually, both professor in biology, both Professor Felix, who does a lot of work with fish and eel fossils, and Professor Argros does is working on this project where he goes, I think mostly he has connections with a couple of museums up in Boston, and he's been going through their collection of animal, I guess it's not fossils, it's animal bones, but then looking at how where they've had breaks and how they've healed and that sort of those sort of outcomes for their wildlife. So that's not quite really paleontology, but it's still working with museums and things.
Building off of that, I do know that some departments have a lot of opportunities in regards to studying abroad. In particular, I know biology has had some with that. Now, is there, for example, one opportunity over another that you'd recommend for your chemistry majors?
Um, so the short answer is any opportunity to study abroad is one we'd encourage and work with you to get the classes to work with. Chemistry majors have studied abroad. We don't have a specific study abroad trip in the chemistry program. The two they most often take are there's a biology trip to Panama, that's a tropical biology course, and there's also an environmental studies trip also to Central America that they take. But we've had chemistry majors go on a trip to Rome that's focused on Renaissance art. We've had another student who spent a semester in Argentina, and she's in graduate school now, but she really enjoyed going to Argentina for a semester. We've also had some students go abroad as part of their summer research. One of our students, Gavin Irvine, did a Friends of the Sciences experience in Spain. And then after he graduated, so he did that the summer of his junior year. And then after he graduated, he's sort of took a gap year, and now he's finishing up his PhD at a university in Scotland. And last summer, one of our students, also on a Friends of the Sciences scholarship, actually went to Scotland and spent the summer working with him. And Rice will be back in the fall. So we don't have necessarily a set opportunities, but there are lots of opportunities. When I was an undergraduate student, I was fortunate to study abroad in West Africa, and that was a lot of fun. And I learned a lot of things, not so much about chemistry, but about the world, and it gives you a lot of perspective on how things work.
That's excellent. Well, I'll say, does anyone have any other remaining questions before we maybe end things out here? Okay. Well, I don't think I'm seeing any more questions coming up. So to that end, I will definitely say thank you very much, Dr. Dushaw. This has been very informative. Give us an idea about the department, and thank you everyone for coming today.
Yep. Nice. See y'all.
Thank you very much.